George Washington served as the first president of the United States from 1789 to 1797. Universally revered as the father of his country, Washington's leadership was indispensable to the success of the American Revolution and the establishment of the new republic. He commanded the Continental Army to victory against the British, presided over the Constitutional Convention, and then reluctantly accepted the presidency, setting crucial precedents for the office. His 2 terms were marked by his commitment to national unity, the establishment of federal authority, and his farewell address, which warned against political factions and foreign entanglements. He voluntarily stepped down after 2 terms, ensuring a peaceful transition of power and solidifying the democratic principles of the new nation. After his 2nd term, Washington eagerly retired to his beloved Mount Vernon estate in Virginia, resuming his life as a gentleman farmer. He cherished his private life and the opportunity to oversee his vast plantation. However, his final years were relatively short. On the 14th of December, 1799, Washington fell ill after inspecting his farms in cold, wet weather. He developed a severe throat infection, likely epiglottitis, which rapidly worsened. Despite the efforts of his physicians, he passed away at Mount Vernon later that day at the age of 67. His death plunged the young nation into profound mourning, and tributes poured in from around the world. His passing marked the end of the revolutionary generation's direct leadership and left an immense void in the heart of the nascent republic. George Washington was laid to rest at his cherished home, Mount Vernon, near Alexandria, Virginia. His final resting place is in the Old Tomb, and later, the New Tomb, located on the grounds of his estate overlooking the Potomac River. Initially, he was buried in a brick vault in the Old Tomb. However, due to concerns about the security and preservation of the remains of Washington and his family, a new, more substantial brick vault was constructed. His remains, along with those of his wife Martha, were moved to the New Tomb in 1831. The New Tomb is a simple but powerful and dignified structure. It features an iron gate that allows visitors to view the marble sarcophagi of George and Martha Washington. A separate area within the tomb holds the remains of other Washington family members. Above the entrance to the New Tomb, an inscription reads, "I am the resurrection and the life. He that believeth in me, though he were dead, yet shall he live." The entire Mount Vernon estate, including the tomb, is a national shrine, meticulously preserved to honor Washington's life and legacy. It stands as a profound and enduring testament to the man who truly earned the title, Father of his Country. Abraham Lincoln served as the 16th President of the United States, from 1861 until his assassination in 1865. Widely regarded as one of America's greatest presidents, he led the nation through its darkest hour, the Civil War, preserving the Union and abolishing slavery. His leadership during the war was marked by his profound rhetorical skill, as evidenced in the Gettysburg Address, and his unwavering commitment to the principles of equality and liberty. He issued the Emancipation Proclamation, transforming the war into a fight for human freedom, and tirelessly worked towards a reconciliation that would bind up the nation's wounds. His vision shaped modern America. Just 5 days after the surrender of Confederate General Robert E. Lee and the effective end of the Civil War, President Lincoln was tragically assassinated. On the 14th of April, 1865, while attending a play at Ford's Theater in Washington, D.C., he was shot by Confederate sympathizer John Wilkes Booth. Lincoln died the following morning, on the 15th of April, 1865, at the Peterson House across the street. He was 56 years old. His assassination plunged the victorious nation into unimaginable grief and dramatically altered the course of Reconstruction. His death, at the moment of triumph, cemented his place as a martyred hero and a symbol of national unity. Abraham Lincoln's funeral journey was a solemn and monumental event, a nearly 2-week-long procession by train that allowed millions of Americans to mourn their fallen leader. His final resting place is in the Oak Ridge Cemetery in Springfield, Illinois, the state capital and a city he called home for many years. His tomb is a massive and impressive monument, befitting his stature in American history. The Lincoln Tomb is a large granite structure featuring a central obelisk and several bronze statues, including one of Lincoln himself and allegorical figures representing his principles. Inside, a circular chamber leads to a burial vault where Lincoln's sarcophagus and those of his wife Mary and 3 of their 4 sons are interred. A famous bronze bust of Lincoln is often touched by visitors for good luck. The tomb is a National Historic Landmark, drawing countless visitors who wish to pay their respects to the president who saved the Union. It stands as a powerful and enduring symbol of his sacrifices and his transformative leadership, a beacon of American history and ideals. John Fitzgerald Kennedy served as the 35th President of the United States, from 1961 until his assassination in 1963. A charismatic and inspiring leader, Kennedy captivated the nation and the world with his youthful vigor and vision of a new frontier. His presidency saw the establishment of the Peace Corps, the Alliance for Progress with Latin American countries, and a commitment to landing a man on the moon before the end of the decade. He navigated the Cuban Missile Crisis, bringing the world back from the brink of nuclear war, and championed civil rights, though his legislative agenda on that front was still progressing at the time of his death. His time in office was brief, but left an indelible mark on American optimism and global relations. The nation was plunged into deep mourning on the 22nd of November, 1963, when President Kennedy was tragically assassinated in Dallas, Texas. He was riding in a motorcade with his wife, Jacqueline, when he was shot. He was pronounced dead shortly thereafter at Parkland Memorial Hospital. He was just 46 years old. His assassination sent shockwaves across the globe, bringing an abrupt and devastating end to a presidency that had promised so much. The event remains one of the most traumatic and investigated moments in American history, forever altering the course of the nation and its collective psyche. The loss of such a vibrant and hopeful leader was felt as a profound personal tragedy by millions worldwide. John F. Kennedy was buried in Arlington National Cemetery in Arlington, Virginia, just across the Potomac River from Washington, D.C. His gravesite is one of the most visited and iconic memorials in the United States. It is located on a gentle slope with a commanding view of the Lincoln Memorial and the U.S. Capitol, a deliberate choice reflecting his place in history. The grave is marked by a simple white marble plaque set flush with the ground, bearing his name and dates. Beside it, his wife, Jacqueline Kennedy Onassis, and 2 of their infant children are also interred. What makes the memorial truly unique and profoundly moving is the eternal flame, which burns continuously at the head of the grave. The design of the site, including the pathway leading up to it and the surrounding space, was overseen by Jacqueline Kennedy herself to create a sense of solemnity and reflection. It has become a powerful symbol of hope, loss, and the enduring legacy of a president who inspired a generation. James Knox Polk served as the 11th President of the United States from 1845 to 1849. A dark horse candidate from Tennessee, Polk promised to achieve 4 major goals during his single term: re-establish the independent treasury system, reduce tariffs, settle the Oregon boundary dispute, and acquire California and New Mexico from Mexico. Remarkably, he accomplished all 4, making him one of the most effective and expansionist presidents in U.S. history. His presidency saw the United States expand its territory by over 1 million square miles, primarily through the Mexican-American War. Though highly successful in his aims, his policies ignited sectional tensions over slavery that would eventually lead to the Civil War. He chose not to seek re-election, exhausted by the demands of the office. Polk's health was severely impacted by the relentless demands of his presidency. He left office in March of 1849, a physically exhausted man. While traveling back to his home in Nashville, Tennessee, he contracted cholera, a deadly disease prevalent at the time. He passed away just 3 months after leaving the White House on the 15th of June, 1849, at the age of 53. His death makes him the president with the shortest post-presidency in American history. His demise was a tragic and premature end to a life that had achieved extraordinary political success, but came at a severe personal cost. James K. Polk was initially buried in the Nashville City Cemetery, but his remains and those of his wife Sarah Childress Polk, were later moved. Their final resting place is on the grounds of the Tennessee State Capitol in Nashville. This is a unique and prominent location for a presidential grave, placing him at the heart of the state's governance. Their tomb is a large, classical-style monument made of white marble, resembling a sarcophagus, which is enclosed by a decorative iron fence. The tomb stands on a raised platform, giving it a commanding presence. The inscription clearly bears his name, James K. Polk, his dates of birth and death, and prominently notes his service as President of the United States. It also includes a brief tribute to his achievements and character. The memorial on the Capitol grounds is a dignified and highly visible tribute to a president who, despite his short tenure, achieved an astonishing amount and profoundly shaped the territorial expansion of the United States. It offers a powerful reminder of his significant contributions to the nation. James Monroe served as the 5th President of the United States from 1817 to 1825, the last of the Virginia dynasty of founding fathers to hold the office. His presidency is famously known as the Era of Good Feelings, due to a period of relative national unity and a lack of partisan strife after the War of 1812. Major achievements of his administration include the acquisition of Florida from Spain, the Missouri Compromise, which temporarily settled the issue of slavery's expansion, and, most famously, the proclamation of the Monroe Doctrine. This doctrine declared that European powers should not colonize or interfere with the affairs of newly independent states in the Americas, a cornerstone of American foreign policy for over a century. He retired after 2 successful terms, highly respected. After leaving the presidency, Monroe faced financial difficulties, having largely neglected his personal finances during decades of public service. He eventually moved to New York City to live with his daughter, where he could be closer to financial support. He passed away on the 4th of July, 1831, in New York City at the age of 73. Remarkably, he was the 3rd president to die on the 4th of July following John Adams and Thomas Jefferson, adding a layer of historical mystique to his passing. His death marked the end of an extraordinary life that had seen him fight in the Revolutionary War, serve as a diplomat, and lead the nation during a period of expansion and growing confidence. James Monroe was initially buried in New York City, but his remains were later reinterred. His final permanent resting place is in Hollywood Cemetery in Richmond, Virginia. This prestigious cemetery is a significant historical site, featuring the graves of 2 other U.S. presidents and many prominent figures from Virginia's past. Monroe's memorial is a truly distinctive and iconic structure. It is a large, Gothic Revival-style cage-like monument, known locally as the Bird Cage. This elaborate cast-iron structure encloses a simple marble sarcophagus that holds Monroe's remains. The design is both striking and unusual, a unique tribute to a pivotal figure in American history. The inscription on the sarcophagus is straightforward, bearing his name, James Monroe, and his dates of birth and death, along with a brief mention of his service as president. The birdcage is a powerful and memorable landmark within the cemetery, drawing visitors to contemplate the legacy of the man who gave the nation its foundational foreign policy doctrine and presided over a period of profound national growth. James Madison served as the 4th President of the United States from 1809 to 1817. Known as the Father of the Constitution, he played a pivotal role in drafting the U.S. Constitution and authoring the Bill of Rights. As president, he faced the immense challenge of navigating the War of 1812 against Great Britain. Despite initial military setbacks, the war ultimately fostered a new sense of American national identity and resolved lingering issues from the Revolutionary War. His presidency solidified the young republic's commitment to democratic principles and demonstrated its ability to defend its sovereignty. Madison retired after 2 terms, leaving a legacy of profound intellectual contribution to American democracy. After his presidency, Madison returned to his beloved Montpelier estate in Orange, Virginia, where he devoted his time to studying and preserving his extensive political papers, which included his detailed notes from the Constitutional Convention. He also corresponded with other prominent figures and became an elder statesman, offering advice and defending the principles of the Constitution. He lived a long and intellectually rich life, remaining engaged with the political discourse of the day. He passed away on the 28th of June, 1836 at Montpellier at the advanced age of 85. His death was attributed to heart failure and general debility. He was the last of the Founding Fathers to die, marking the final farewell to the generation that created the American Republic. James Madison was buried on his cherished estate, Montpelier, in Orange, Virginia. His final resting place is in the family graveyard, a serene and historic plot located on the grounds of his former home. The graveyard is a quiet and reflective space, surrounded by the natural beauty of the Virginia countryside. Madison's grave is marked by a simple, dignified obelisk made of white marble. The monument is characteristic of the period and reflects the reserved intellectualism of the man himself. The inscription on the obelisk clearly states his name, James Madison, his dates of birth and death, and notes his service as President of the United States. It is a straightforward and respectful memorial, allowing visitors to connect directly with the physical resting place of one of the nation's most profound political thinkers and architects. The gravesite at Montpellier offers a personal and intimate connection to the life and enduring legacy of the father of the Constitution, inviting contemplation on the principles he helped to enshrine in American governance. Thomas Jefferson, the third President of the United States, served 2 terms from 1801 to 1809. A principal author of the Declaration of Independence, Jefferson's presidency was transformative. He dramatically expanded the nation's territory with the Louisiana Purchase in 1803, doubling the size of the country. He also initiated the Lewis and Clark Expedition, further exploring the newly acquired Western lands. His administration championed agrarianism, limited government, and religious freedom, though he also grappled with challenges to American neutrality during the Napoleonic Wars. He retired to his beloved Monticello, leaving a profound impact on American ideals and its geographical scope. After his presidency, Jefferson dedicated his time to his estate, Monticello, and the founding of the University of Virginia, which he considered one of his greatest achievements. He remained a prolific correspondent and an intellectual leader. His final years were spent managing his extensive properties and dealing with mounting debts. He passed away on the 4th of July, 1826 at Monticello, on the 50th anniversary of the Declaration of Independence. He was 83 years old. Remarkably, his death occurred just hours before that of his fellow founding father and former president, John Adams, a striking coincidence that captivated the nation. His passing was a moment of national mourning, marking the end of an era defined by revolutionary fervor and nation-building. Thomas Jefferson was buried on his iconic estate, Monticello, near Charlottesville, Virginia. His final resting place is in the family graveyard, a serene and historically rich plot nestled amidst the beauty of the Monticello grounds. The graveyard is a place of quiet contemplation, offering visitors a direct link to one of America's most influential figures. Jefferson's grave is marked by a distinctive and personal monument, one that he designed himself. It is a tall, white obelisk made of granite, similar to the one he designed for his friend Meriwether Lewis. The inscription on the obelisk, chosen by Jefferson, reflects what he considered his most significant achievements. Here was buried Thomas Jefferson, author of the Declaration of American Independence, of the Statute of Virginia for Religious Freedom, and father of the University of Virginia. Conspicuously absent is any mention of his presidency, a deliberate choice by Jefferson himself. The gravesite at Monticello is more than just a burial spot. It is a profound testament to his intellectual legacy and a powerful symbol of the ideals he helped to establish for the United States. John Adams, the second president of the United States, served 1 term from 1797 to 1801, a leading figure in the American Revolution. Adams was a brilliant lawyer, diplomat, and political theorist. As president, he faced the daunting task of guiding a young nation through treacherous international waters, particularly the quasi-war with France. His administration established the Department of the Navy and signed the controversial Alien and Sedition Acts, which curtailed civil liberties but were justified by the national security concerns of the era. Despite a challenging presidency and intense partisan opposition, He successfully avoided a full-scale war and ensured a peaceful transfer of power to his political rival, Thomas Jefferson. After his presidency, Adams retired to his beloved home in Quincy, Massachusetts, where he lived a long and productive post-presidency. He resumed his extensive correspondence with Thomas Jefferson, a friendship rekindled after years of political estrangement, which resulted in a fascinating exchange of letters on politics, philosophy, and history. He remained a respected elder statesman, offering advice and insights into the nation's founding principles. He passed away on the 4th of July, 1826, at the age of 90, on the exact 50th anniversary of the Declaration of Independence. His last words were reportedly, "Thomas Jefferson still lives," unaware that Jefferson had died hours earlier. His death, alongside Jefferson's, was a profound national moment, marking the end of a generation that forged the nation. John Adams was initially buried in the Hancock Cemetery in Quincy, Massachusetts, but his remains, along with those of his wife Abigail, were later reinterred. Their final resting place is in the crypt beneath the United First Parish Church, also known as the Church of the Presidents in Quincy. This historic church is a significant landmark, having been attended by both Adams and his son, John Quincy Adams, who also became president. The crypt provides a solemn and intimate setting for their memorials. Their tombs are made of stone, inscribed with their names, John Adams and Abigail Adams, along with their dates and roles. Above the crypt, within the church itself, there are commemorative plaques and memorials to both John and John Quincy Adams, serving as public tributes to their service. The site at the United First Parish Church offers a unique opportunity to connect with two generations of the Adams family, allowing visitors to reflect on the life of a key founding father who dedicated his life to the establishment and preservation of American liberty and self-governance. Ulysses S. Grant served as the 18th President of the United States from 1869 to 1877. Before his presidency, he was the triumphant Union general who led the Union Army to victory in the Civil War, famously accepting Robert E. Lee's surrender at Appomattox. As president, Grant's primary focus was on Reconstruction, striving to protect the rights of newly freed African Americans and integrate the Southern states back into the Union. He signed the Enforcement Acts to combat the Ku Klux Klan and championed the 15th Amendment, guaranteeing voting rights regardless of race. Despite his efforts, his administration was plagued by scandals, largely due to corruption among his subordinates, though Grant himself remained personally untainted. After leaving office, Grant embarked on a 2-year world tour where he was greeted as a hero. However, his post-presidency was marked by severe financial hardship after he was swindled by a business partner. To provide for his family and restore his reputation, he began writing his memoirs, a monumental task undertaken while battling terminal throat cancer. He wrote furiously, often in great pain, racing against time to complete the work. He passed away on the 23rd of July, 1885, at Mount McGregor, New York, just days after finishing his acclaimed personal memoirs. He was 63 years old. His death was a national event, and his memoirs became an instant classic and a financial success, ensuring his family's security. Ulysses S. Grant's final resting place is one of the most iconic and recognizable presidential memorials in the United States. Grant's tomb, officially known as the General Grant National Memorial, located in New York City. This magnificent and imposing granite structure stands in Riverside Park, overlooking the Hudson River. The tomb is a grand, classical mausoleum designed to evoke the ancient world's great monuments. Inside, the remains of Grant and his wife, Julia Dent Grant, lie in 2 red granite sarcophagi in a circular crypt, open to the public for viewing. The exterior features Ionic columns and elaborate sculptural details. The inscription above the entrance proudly states, "Let us have peace," a famous quote from Grant's letter accepting the Republican presidential nomination. Grant's tomb is the largest mausoleum in North America and a powerful symbol of national unity and reconciliation after the Civil War. It stands as a monumental tribute to the Union's greatest general and a president who tried, amidst immense challenges, to heal a fractured nation. Andrew Jackson served as the 7th President of the United States from 1829 to 1837, a legendary military hero who famously defeated the British at the Battle of New Orleans in 1815. Jackson's presidency ushered in the age of the common man and significantly expanded presidential power. He was a champion of the common people, dismantling the Second Bank of the United States and paying off the national debt. However, his administration was also marked by controversial policies, most notably the Indian Removal Act, which led to the forced displacement of Native American tribes on the Trail of Tears. He was a fierce and often polarizing figure, but his impact on American democracy and the role of the presidency was profound. After 2 terms in office, Jackson retired to his beloved Hermitage estate in Nashville, Tennessee. He remained politically engaged, offering advice to his successors and defending his actions during his presidency. His later years were marked by declining health, suffering from chronic headaches, internal bleeding, and various other ailments stemming from old war wounds and a lifetime of hard living. He passed away on the 8th of June, 1845, at the Hermitage, at the age of 78. His death marked the end of an era dominated by his forceful personality and his commitment to the principles of popular democracy. Though his legacy remains complex and hotly debated, Andrew Jackson was laid to rest at his home, the Hermitage, near Nashville, Tennessee. His final resting place is in the family graveyard on the grounds of his cherished estate. The Hermitage is now a National Historic Landmark, allowing visitors to tour his home and grounds. The graveyard is a peaceful and solemn place, nestled within the gardens. Jackson's grave is marked by a distinctive and personal monument. It is a large, classical-style tomb with a sarcophagus-like top made of white marble, resting on a sturdy stone base. The monument is enclosed by an iron fence, providing a sense of dignity and protection. The inscription on the tomb clearly states his name, Andrew Jackson, his dates of birth and death, and notes his service as President of the United States. It also includes a loving tribute from his family, reflecting the deep personal connections he maintained. The gravesite at the Hermitage is a powerful and intimate place to connect with the life and legacy of Old Hickory, allowing reflection on his formidable contributions to American democracy and the controversies that defined his era. Chester Alan Arthur served as the 21st President of the United States, taking office after the assassination of James A. Garfield. His presidency, from 1881 to 1885, was marked by his unexpected commitment to civil service reform, a stark contrast to his past as a stalwart Republican associated with political patronage. Though initially seen by some as unfit for the office, Arthur rose to the occasion, signing the Pendleton Civil Service Reform Act into law, which laid the foundation for a merit-based federal employment system. His administration also oversaw the modernization of the U.S. Navy and addressed issues of Native American land rights. He chose not to seek re-election due to declining health, leaving a legacy of integrity and surprising effectiveness. Arthur's health had been a concern throughout his presidency. He suffered from Bright's disease, a severe kidney ailment, which he kept largely secret from the public. After leaving office, his health continued to deteriorate rapidly. He passed away on the 18th of November, 1886, at his home in New York City. He was 57 years old. His death occurred less than 2 years after he left the White House, making him one of the shortest-lived former presidents. His passing was a quiet end for a man who had served at the nation's highest office, and it brought an end to a life that had traversed significant political shifts in post-Civil War America. Chester A. Arthur was laid to rest in the tranquil surroundings of the Albany Rural Cemetery in Menands, New York. This historic cemetery, established in 1841, is known for its picturesque landscape, winding paths, and impressive monuments. It is a place of serene beauty, overlooking the Hudson River. Arthur's gravesite is distinctive and fitting for a former president. It is marked by a grand granite monument, featuring a bronze statue of an angel, often interpreted as the Angel of Sorrows, with her head bowed in contemplation. This impressive sculpture rests upon a large pedestal which bears his name, Chester Alan Arthur, and his dates of birth and death. The overall design of the memorial is classical and stately, reflecting the somber dignity of his unexpected rise to the presidency and his quiet, principled leadership. The grave stands as a significant historical landmark, inviting visitors to reflect on the life and legacy of a president who, against expectations, left a lasting positive mark on American governance. Benjamin Harrison served as the 23rd President of the United States from 1889 to 1893. A grandson of the 9th President, William Henry Harrison, he was a distinguished lawyer, Union Army veteran during the Civil War, and a U.S. senator before reaching the highest office. His presidency was marked by economic protectionism through the McKinley Tariff, significant federal spending, and an expansion of the Navy. He signed the Sherman Antitrust Act into law, aiming to curb monopolies, and oversaw the admission of 6 new states to the Union. Despite his policy achievements, he was often perceived as a cold and formal personality, which may have contributed to his defeat for re-election. After his single term in the White House, Harrison returned to his successful law practice in Indianapolis. He also delivered a series of lectures and published a book on constitutional law. His post-presidency was productive, allowing him to continue his intellectual pursuits and civic engagements. He passed away on the 13th of March, 1901, at his home in Indianapolis, Indiana. The cause of his death was pneumonia, a common ailment of the era. He was 67 years old. His passing came less than 8 years after leaving office, marking the end of a life dedicated to public service, law, and a quiet but firm commitment to his principles. Benjamin Harrison's final resting place is in the Crown Hill Cemetery in Indianapolis, Indiana. This magnificent cemetery is one of the largest and most beautiful in the United States, known for its panoramic views of the city, mature trees, and numerous historical monuments. It serves as the burial site for many prominent Hoosiers. Harrison's grave is a significant landmark within the cemetery, located on a prominent hill that offers commanding vistas. His memorial is a substantial and traditional granite monument. It features a tall, classical obelisk, a popular choice for memorials of the period, resting on a sturdy base. The inscription on the obelisk clearly displays his name, Benjamin Harrison, and his years of birth and death. It also notes his service as President of the United States and his military rank as Brigadier General during the Civil War. The simplicity and strength of the monument reflect Harrison's own reserved yet resolute character. It stands as a dignified and lasting tribute to the only U.S. president from Indiana, a distinguished leader whose contributions to the nation are remembered in this historic setting. John Tyler holds the distinction of being the 10th President of the United States, serving from 1841 to 1845. He was the first Vice President to assume the presidency due to the death of his predecessor, William Henry Harrison, establishing a crucial precedent for presidential succession. Initially a Whig, his presidency was fraught with political conflict as he clashed repeatedly with his own party over issues like the National Bank, leading to his effective expulsion from the Whigs. Despite this, he achieved significant foreign policy successes, including the Webster-Ashburton Treaty, which settled border disputes with Britain, and the annexation of Texas, a highly controversial but momentous event. He left office unpopular but with a strong sense of having upheld his constitutional duties. Tyler's later years were marked by a dramatic and controversial turn during the secession crisis leading up to the Civil War. A staunch defender of states' rights and slavery, he presided over a peace conference in 1861 in a desperate attempt to prevent war. When these efforts failed and his home state of Virginia seceded, he publicly sided with the Confederacy. He was elected to the Confederate House of Representatives, though he died before he could take his seat. He passed away on the 18th of January, 1862 in Richmond, Virginia, at the age of 71. His death was caused by a stroke, a tragic end for a former U.S. president who chose to align himself with a rebellion against the Union. John Tyler's final resting place is in Hollywood Cemetery in Richmond, Virginia. This historic cemetery is one of the most beautiful and significant in the South, known for its picturesque landscape, views of the James River, and the burial site of 2 other U.S. presidents and numerous Confederate figures. Tyler's grave is a prominent and historically significant site within the cemetery. His memorial is a grand 70-foot-tall granite obelisk, erected in his honor by the U.S. government in 1881, nearly 2 decades after his death. The impressive monument stands as a testament to his service as president. Despite his later allegiances, the obelisk bears a straightforward inscription with his name, John Tyler, and his dates of birth and death, along with a note of his presidency. It is a powerful and visible marker, allowing visitors to reflect on the complex legacy of a president who navigated unprecedented constitutional challenges and ultimately found himself on the wrong side of history. The memorial stands as a reminder of a pivotal, divisive period in American history,